Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Transformations by Tracy. So I started TikTok like about 3.5 weeks ago, and I focus on thrift flipping and upcycling clothing, turning something old into something new. I love the idea of repurposing something and giving it a whole new life. A lot of my followers have been wanting me to make a YouTube, so I decided to why not start one. I wanted to make a beginner's guide to sewing and how to use a sewing machine. In this video, I'm just going to be showing you guys how to thread your machine properly, what different needles to use, the different functions of presser foots, and how to sew wovens versus stretch fabrics. So this is my sewing machine. I have a Brother GX37 and I love this machine. It's a very basic and inexpensive machine. I believe I got it for under $100. It really gets the job done when it comes to all of my sewing projects. So let's get right into this video. For beginners, a great way to start sewing is to not have any thread in your machine and to just take a piece of paper and draw some straight lines. It's a great way to practice before moving on to actual fabric. You get a feel for the machine and how it glides over a surface. This is a great way to start practicing sewing corners, so you want to take a square piece of paper, follow the edge of the paper with the edge of the presser foot and stitch down. You want to lift your presser foot up when you get to a corner, leaving enough seam allowance to match up the edge. Pivot your paper and then just bring your foot back down and just stitch right across. And you get really nice pointed corners. The two stitches I use the most on this machine are the straight stitch and the zigzag, and this little dial just indicates which stitch you want. I like to set my stitch length and tension anywhere between 3 and 2. Start winding your bobbin, just place your thread on the little holder and just wrap around that little metal knob in the corner, and then you just want to grab your bobbin, find that hole on the top, and then thread it through. Hold the thread tightly and then place it on the bobbin winder. Then you just want to push it to the right in order to start activating it, and then just press on the presser foot. And then you can just cut away that little excess part once you started winding a bit. Just hold down your presser foot and it'll just do the winding, and it'll stop until it gets completely full. Remember to disengage the bobbin, and then in order to start threading the machine, just bring the thread down and up until you get it into this hook. Then bring it back down again, and you want to wrap it behind the needle. Then you just want to go ahead and thread your needle. Your machine usually has drawings all over it just to help you indicate how to thread your machine. It's pretty self-explanatory, but just in order to help you guys out, I decided to include it in this video. Keep in mind that the threading process for every machine is slightly different. To start threading the bobbin, just take this plastic cover off and place your bobbin in a P shape and then wrap around and through. Place your cover back on and hold on to the top thread while bringing the needle down and picking up your bobbin thread. Pull both threads and bring them behind the presser foot. Start by taking a scrap piece of fabric and just testing your machine. You want to just go ahead and follow the presser foot in order to make a straight line. I like to figure out my tension and stitch length on the fabric to see if it's sewing properly. There's a little blade on the left hand side to just cut your threads. I also like to practice my zigzag stitch and just see what size it is and if I like it on my fabric depending on my project. This is what a stitch size 3 looks like. You can overlock your ends by using a smaller stitch size zigzag and just making sure you're casting over the edge. This is what an overlocked edge looks like, but if you compare it to the zigzag, they're pretty similar. I'm going to show you guys how to stitch a basic seam. So I just like to pin both pieces of fabric together and then just start stitching a straight stitch all the way down. This example, I am just going to follow the edge of the presser foot, which is always a 1/4 inch. Always back tack when you're starting and ending a seam. Stop and remove your pins. You never want to sew right through them because you can risk breaking your needle. Press your seams flat, and then you want to go ahead and open them and press them again in order to give you a crisp, clean line on the outside. You can go ahead and repeat the same for knit fabrics, but you don't have to overlock the ends just because knits don't unravel as easily as wovens do. I recommend using a 4-way stretched knit in order to sew garments for yourself. It makes it easier to stretch around the body and you won't have stitches that'll end up ripping. There are two different ways to hem your knits on a basic sewing machine. You can first use a zigzag stitch, and the zigzag stitch will allow the fabric to stretch with it. This isn't my go-to option just because it doesn't give as much. I prefer using a double needle, so a lot of basic sewing machines come with this. In order to change your needle, you want to go ahead and unscrew this screw, and your needle should fall out. It's really hard to undo this while having a camera right in front of you, but there you go. And then you want to go ahead and just grab your needle. There's a flat side and a round side. So you want the flat side facing the back of your sewing machine. You want to go ahead and just insert it up into that hole. Just go ahead and tighten that screw in order to make sure your needle is tight and secure. In order to thread your double needle, you want to go ahead and just wind an extra bobbin so you have the same exact thread. I don't have an extra thread holder, so I like to use the bobbin stand and disengage it, and then just thread both of them at the same time. So now you have two threads, and you can just thread each needle separately. Make sure both threads are right behind the presser foot. For hemming knits, a double needle cover stitch machine is used, but your regular sewing machine can actually do this as well. This is why I love this double needle. You want to have your machine set to the straight stitch setting in order to use this needle because it causes both threads at the bottom to crisscross over each other. This stitch allows my knits to stretch a lot more. My machine came with a couple of different feet. This is a zipper foot. As you can see, one side is completely open so you can see where you are stitching. To change the presser foot on your machine, just hit the lever at the back and the foot should come off. Grab your new foot and place it below, and then bring the lever down and snap it in. I like to use this foot when I'm sewing down beaded trim at the hem. So you first want to pin your beaded trim towards the fabric, not towards the edge. And then you want to just do a straight stitch down that edge. I really like the foot because it allows me to get as close as possible. This is what it looks like with the first stitch. So now you want to fold it down, just cover the top part of that trim, and you just want to go ahead and do a top stitch. I find this foot fascinating just because my beads are pretty large, so it's really nice to know that my beads can just fit right under this foot and I can get a really close stitch. This is a great way to clean finished trims. I love it. It's so satisfying. I love using this clear applique foot on a lot of lace or just some flat trims because I can really see through it and I can just see where exactly I'm stitching. So I'm just taking this floral trim and stitching right next to the edge of this foot. So there's a little bar in between where you can see where you are sewing, and it's really neat. This foot is great to get very close to your edges and make sure it's very clean. If I was using a different color thread to match this trim, then you wouldn't even be able to notice it. Most machines come with a buttonhole foot, so you just want to go ahead and put it on like any other foot to snap it in. Always make sure your thread is underneath the foot and towards the back. Place your button in the very back of the foot. There's a little slot for you to insert any size button you want. You want to go ahead and grab this lever and then pull it all the way down and just go ahead and push on it. Grab your piece of fabric where you desire to place your buttonhole. Just keep in mind that some machines go backwards or some goes forward. Mine goes forward, so that is going to be the start of the bottom of the buttonhole. Make sure to set your stitch dial to the buttonhole stitch and it will just do its thing. When it reaches the end of it, it will just keep doing the same stitch motion, and that is when you should stop and pull it up. And go ahead and grab your handy dandy seam ripper and just cut right through that hole so you can just open up the space to fit your button through. My machine also came with a foot to sew buttons down, and I love that I have this foot because I really hate sewing down buttons by hand. Place your button right under the foot and it will be stabilized. You want to go ahead and just do a zigzag stitch and just go in and out of the holes on the button. I do this for a couple of times just to make sure it's secure. Then you have a really nice button and it fits perfectly through that buttonhole you just made. I hope this beginner's guide was very helpful. Please let me know in the comments down below. I will be posting every Tuesday. Next week's video, I will be upcycling this dress. I really love the print. I think it's really fun and playful, but I do not like the silhouette at all. So you guys can come back next week and see what I do with it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.